it's your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, like, ask them to talk.
Tonight, a mother and the RCMP are asking for the public's help for anything on what happened to her son 2 years ago on a Manitoba reserve. Edmonton police are commenting after a viral video made the rounds over the weekend.
On ne va pas arrêter nos actions. On va continuer jusqu'au bout. Tant aussi longtemps qu'ils ne reconnaissent pas Mamou Première Nation et l'Association des gardiens de territoire Neurojaski, on ne va pas abandonner.
And Quebec's Bill 97 causing growing tensions with the forestry industry and the Atigamekw Nation. Tansin Itute Maktir Wheatley Nisigasun Opasqueak Uche. Tawau, welcome to APTN National News. The Edmonton Police Service is responding to an incident that occurred over the weekend where some portions of it were posted online. The video has been shared nearly 10,000 times, but EPS says it only shows a brief portion of a larger police interaction. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
An 8-second video was recently posted online that shows a woman on the ground, surrounded by 5 Edmonton police officers. One officer knees her in the back twice. Another officer then also knees her twice in the back. The family of Sandrina Twin says that she and a friend had too much to drink Saturday night at a pub and decided to sleep in the car instead of driving under the influence. The family alleges police approached her, and she got out of her car and the police attacked her. In a statement to APTN News, Edmonton Police Service says that it is aware of a video circulating on social media, but that it is only showing a brief portion of a larger police interaction. Police say they were called to the area around 4:30 a.m. to assist security with some uncooperative individuals at the rear of the location. While on scene, police were advised of a 33-year-old woman unconscious in the driver's seat of a vehicle. It was reported that the unconscious female was in possession of the vehicle's keys, and empty cans of alcohol were also visible inside and around the exterior of the vehicle. When the officer attempted to wake the woman and remove the keys from her possession, she became belligerent and aggressive. Additional police arrived on scene to assist with the arrest, at which the woman became combative and assaulted one of the responding officers, kicking them multiple times. Due to the aggressive behavior of the woman, multiple officers were required to successfully take her into custody. Police say the woman did not report any injuries, though paramedics attended the scene for assessment. Twin has been charged with assaulting a peace officer, resisting arrest, and provincial sanctions for impaired operation of her motor vehicle in relation to this incident. It was also determined that Twin was not the registered owner of the vehicle. Police say if a person is impaired and in the driver's seat with the keys in proximity, they can be charged with impaired operation of a motor vehicle. The charges have not been tested in court. The family of Twin has created a GoFundMe to raise money for a lawyer and the impound costs of the car. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Chris, it has been 2 years since 25-year-old Lyndon McIvor went missing and was later found deceased in Lake Manitoba First Nation. Both his mother and the Manitoba RCMP believe he was murdered, and people in the community know what happened to Lyndon and hope they will come forward with new information that could lead to an arrest. Kyler Minchell has more.
According to Manitoba RCMP, McIvor left his mom's home in Lake Manitoba First Nation on August 26, 2023, to enjoy a night out with friends. The family became worried after McIvor was not responding to his messages and began searching for him. 5 days later, on August 31st, McIvor was found deceased in a wooden area in the community. McIvor's mother, May Tawashing, had this to say about him.
Lyndon was outgoing. He loved hockey. He loved baseball. He loved sports. He was proud of his babies. He took care of his babies. I always wonder what my grandsons think. My grandsons think that he's away.
In September of 2023, a 36-year-old man was arrested and charged with second-degree murder in connection to McIvor's death. But the charges were later stayed in court with an RCMP spokesperson confirming the matter was no longer before the courts. McIvor's mother says his death has affected the entire community, and she asks anyone with any knowledge of that night to come forward.
If it's your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, like, ask them to talk, because it's affecting a lot of people. And you know, like, I'm scared. What if these people go and do it to another family, and we don't want that?
RCMP Major Crimes continues to investigate and believe there are people in Lake Manitoba First Nation who know what happened and can provide more information to police. They ask anyone with information to call the Major Crime Services tip line at 431-489-8110. McIvor's mother says she has not buried his ashes yet and will not until she has learned the truth about her son's death. Kyler Minchell, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
John Graham was convicted in 2010 for the 1975 murder of Anna Mae Aquash in South Dakota. In 2007, Graham was extradited to the United States after he was indicted for the 1975 kidnapping and murder of Anna Mae. Graham appealed the extradition 2 years ago, claiming he did not get to speak at the extradition process. But Canada's Justice Department is now disagreeing and reapproving Graham's extradition. He will remain in state custody in a South Dakota penitentiary, where he is serving life without parole. Denise Pictou-Maloney, Aquash's daughter, joins us now. Welcome, Denise, and thank you for speaking with APTN. What is your reaction to the Minister of Justice reapproving Graham's 2007 extradition to the United States?
Well, you know, our family has been at this for a long time. This December, it'll be 50 years that we've been campaigning for justice for my mom. And, you know, in the steps of our journey, certainly considered to be a form of justice. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is something that we've carried for a long time. So I can't say it's you know, something that's to celebrate. It's just part of the journey.
Yeah, that's a good choice on words there. You know, Graham has appealed his extradition numerous times. How did that impact your fight for justice for your mother?
I think, you know, it took us almost 6 years to get him into court through that extradition process. And, you know, going through almost a decade of trials to get a conviction, certainly to go back and have, you know, the process of bringing him to be accountable in question certainly didn't make sense to our family after there was a ruling and, you know, he was convicted through a jury of his peers, that it didn't make sense to us to be talking about a process that had nothing to do with his innocence or guilt, but was really about his ability to be accountable and be held accountable. So for our family, you know, it was the back and forth of always reopening that wound and always feeling like we were at the mercy of, you know, a political arena that we didn't quite understand how it was entrenched in any kind of form of justice.
This kind of ties into what you were just saying, but how much do you hope this is the end of any legal wranglings on behalf of John Graham?
Well, you know, I have to say for our family, it wasn't really about the legal process, it was about justice. And justice can come in many forms. This is something as you know, many women, and I know you have personal experience in this, when you're doing missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls work, and you are a family member of that, it's not a club you get to exit. It's not something you get to leave. It is something we carry for the rest of our lives. So I would say not definitely any kind of, you know, finite process to us. The journey and the struggle will continue as long as our women are continuing to go missing and murdered, and our girls are at risk and our women are at risk. This is something that I'll carry probably to my grave.
You know, South Dakota's Attorney General Marty Jackley called this decision a victory for MMIWG. Do you agree with that, and why?
I agree with him that it is a victory. I wouldn't say a victory like, you know, usually there's a win, because the win will never come for us. My mother is never going to come. The only win I could see is her coming back, and that's not happening. But I would say certainly a step towards justice for not just my mom, but for many missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and understanding that perseverance, and despite almost 5 decades, a woman was still able to achieve some form of justice in holding those accountable who took her life.
I just want to say thank you for your time today, Denise.
Thank you very much, Tiara.
More news in the Northwest Territories as the community of Bechoko has witnessed another recent drug bust within its doors. On Friday, August 22nd, a vehicle that was stopped for speeding was found with approximately 462 grams of suspected crack cocaine. 2 occupants, 29-year-old Stephen Jean and 25-year-old Donald Adolphe, both from Quebec, were charged with possession of a controlled substance for the purpose of trafficking and were remanded into custody. A third occupant, 21-year-old female, was released from custody on conditions to appear at a later court date. Her charges have not yet been sworn in court. The community of Wati in the Northwest Territories has been issued an evacuation notice due to a nearby wildfire. The community government of Wati released a statement on August 25th saying the community was under an evacuation notice due to a wildfire 15 kilometers away. The press release stated that the community is advised to prepare for a potential emergency and/or evacuation if necessary. According to the Northwest Territories fire update page, the fire was started on August 7th by lightning strikes and remains the territory's top priority. To stay up to date, visit their Facebook page at facebook.com/NWTFireInfo. We want to hear what you think about our newscast or our stories online. Here's how to continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Before we head to break, our Yellowknife video journalist Bruce Dela Cruz checks in to tell us what he's working on this week.
From August 26th to the 28th, Entrepreneurth, a project dedicated to empowering Indigenous and community-based entrepreneurs, will be hosting the Empowering Innovation Spirit Conference. The conference will bring together and uplift Northern Indigenous entrepreneurs through workshops, networking events, and keynote presentations. Stay tuned for that upcoming story on APTN National News.
Pitigua. Quebec's Bill 97 has sparked intense debates, protests, and growing tensions. It proposes to reform Quebec's forest regime. There is broad consensus. Changes to the bill are essential to preserve public peace in the province. As tensions reached a boiling point between the Tegameo Nation and the forest industry, video journalist Def Dorn traveled to Wemotaki. Here is a collaborative effort with Montreal reporter Stéphanie Desève.
The tension in this video is palpable. This recent confrontation between a truck driver and an Atikamekw man occurred at a protest camp in Wemotaki, Quebec. It recalled images from the 1990 siege of Gunasatake. The man in the video is Dave Petitquet, land defender and member of the Mamu First Nation. Last week, he called for a peaceful mobilization to counter a demonstration planned by a group of loggers.
Les gens qui sont violents, qui se retiennent pas quand ils sont en colère, on vous demanderait de rester chez vous, de ne pas venir appuyer. En contre, si tu as un grand cœur, capable de se tenir debout et le courage, oui, on vous invite à venir nous aider.
That confrontation was narrowly avoided. A meeting finally took place with the AFNQL, Atikamekw leaders, forestry stakeholders, and Quebec government ministers. This was a contrast to the situation in July when the AFNQL walked away from discussions with the Quebec government. Following the meeting, Minister Lafrenière called for calm and mutual respect on both the non-Indigenous and Indigenous sides. He added, "One thing is clear. We all agree that it is essential to modify the force regime, in particular by making changes to take into account the rights of First Nations." Other points agreed upon at the meeting were that meetings would take place in each Atikamekw community to collectively establish forestry guidelines, that a pilot project will be set up to develop a management plan and implement new forestry practices that respect Atikamekw values, that the Kuku family's wishes will be respected. There will be no more logging on their land until adequate consultations with the territory chiefs. Even though the path to a resolution is challenging, the Council of the Atikamekw Nation acknowledges Mamou's recent mobilizations have helped move the discussion forward. The AFNQL issued a press release following the meeting. They reaffirmed the government has all the necessary elements to take political and legislative action to ensure the vitality of the forests. The AFNQL says it remains open to discussions and hopes to find concrete legislative solutions. As the press release stresses, the ball is in the government's court. But members of the Mamou First Nations want more.
C'est comme on voit depuis le début, il ignore les gardiens de territoire et Mamou Première Nation, ainsi que les chefs héréditaires. C'est l'impression qu'on a eu, le message qu'on a eu, c'est ça. Ils veulent faire leur tête, alors qu'on dit que toutes ces organisations-là sont illégitimes pour signer quoi que ce soit dans le territoire.
According to Mamou First Nations, band councils do not have ancestral rights over traditional territories outside of reserves. Therefore, Mamou First Nations also want to be involved in the discussion. Until then, Petit Kwe is not about to move.
On ne va pas arrêter nos actions. On va continuer jusqu'au bout. Tant aussi longtemps qu'ils ne reconnaissent pas Mamou Première Nation et l'Association des gardiens de territoire Nuruzaski, on ne va pas abandonner.
A report by Jeff Dorn and Stéphanie Desèvres for APTN National News, Wemotashi and Montreal.
One more quick break here. When we return, we take you to Australia, where we hear from our colleagues over at NITV. Cheskwa. Welcome back. Bawita Beninan. Time now for our photo of the day. Esme sent in a few photos of some busy bees at the George Wayneburn Park located in Vancouver, British Columbia. All of the pictures were beautiful and we selected this one in particular. Thanks for sharing. Send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting in the east, St. John's 23, Charlottetown 24. Kuujjuaq 12, Happy Valley Goose Bay 17. Chibougamau 17, Quebec City 19. North Bay 19, London 20. Big Trout Lake 9 degrees, Sioux Lookout 21. Churchill 14, Thompson 16. Barons River 20, Brandon 31. North Battleford 30, Yorkton 27. Uranium City 26, Buffalo Narrows 29. High Level 31 degrees, Grand Prairie 33. Edmonton 32, Calgary 29. Bella Coola 26, Campbell River 25. Dease Lake 24, Prince Rupert 15. Rock River 24, Beaver Creek 23. Norman Wells 26, Fort Simpson 31. Tuktoyaktuk 11, Colville Lake 22. Baker Lake 18, Chesterfield also 18. Arctic Bay 2, Igloolik 5 degrees. A Kumbameri in Minyingbo-based artist has seen huge success in recent years, with his artwork selling out in galleries across Australia and beyond. Best known for his large-scale, intricate paintings, he draws inspiration from songlines and teachings passed down by his cultural leaders. The award-winning artist spoke with our colleagues at NITV in Sydney, Australia.
So the dots that I'm doing right now representing Mother Earth, so Jara in my language. The white representing Mother Earth is one of the main ochres that I gather from the land of my homelands. My name is Gumpi Yuguraba, which is my tribal name, but my English name is Stephen Larkham. I was born on the Gold Coast, which is the Kumbameri tribal land, and my people were removed from country and pushed to the Tweed Heads region. I was taught song and dance from my teachers from Stradbroke Island. You know, I started to graduate as a songman, and then that next step was our written language, which is what the term Aboriginal art is today. It's very personal, of course, even though it's telling stories about my ancestors and my teachers and their people. It was creating artworks that weren't just my ancestors, it was mine, because I live and breathe it, so most of the stories I tell are connected to me. So this artwork here is called Creation of Life. So the storyline passed down that the earth was all black and dark and no life at all, and from a crack that appeared in the earth, a bright light shot into the sky country. Majority of the artworks that I create is knowledge that I have from my teachers, but more so from the Gold Coast, living there, and Tweed Heads. So that's my homelands, and it's a saltwater area, of course. Had exhibitions over in France. One of the biggest ones, I think, to date for myself that's close to my heart was doing a group exhibition in Romania. And I've seen my artworks sitting alongside some of the masters from the Aboriginal art movements from the beginning. It was actually a pinch myself moment to say, like, this is pretty cool, like where I am now. Art is just another way of, you know, trying to bridge that gap as well of those generations of my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother and so on, not being able to practice culture and pass on that knowledge. So I think with every artwork, I put that story on the back with a permanent marker, because wherever it goes around the world or throughout Australia, and that artwork is still readable, that story is going to get carried on. So I think that's the most important part.
It's the perfect ending to a tale of a missing cat. 2 weeks after Luigi vanished on a ferry in British Columbia, he's been found safe and sound at the Tissawasan terminal.
It was amazing. It was so good. It was like too good to be true. Nobody gave up hope. Everybody was committed to finding Luigi.
We've got you. Oh, kitty.
BC Ferry says a crew member had spotted the tuxedo cat under a trailer. It prompted Halo Pet Rescue, which has been leading the search, to bring in their tracking dog. Luigi's owner, Neela Herbert, also came down to the terminal from Vernon. Luigi was reluctant to come out of hiding, but once he heard Neela's voice, he emerged, and the pair was happily reunited. She's not sure how Luigi got off the ferry. She's just grateful to have him back home. The cat came back. He just couldn't stay away. And that's your newscast for this Tuesday, August 26th. I'm TR Wheatley. It's been a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Join Creason Ajikode and the crew tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for your first look at news from all of us at APTN. Egase maga, gitam gigawap, egase gitam kawapamitinanaw.